Hey, and welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man, J.P. Oh, let me do a little adjustment there. A little more. Ah, that's better. There. Let's do this kind of thing. Okay. Okay, so I'm back, obviously. So we're talking about SummerSlam. I talked about SummerSlam 1988. And so I thought, let's continue on with 1989, SummerSlam, Feel the Heat. I thought that 1988 was Feel the Heat, but I guess 1989 was tagged Feel the Heat, and then the next year was The Heat Returns or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm getting all of this from watching this, the SummerSlam Anthology. There you can see that's Volume 1. You can't really see it with the light and everything, but yeah, this is 1988 to 1992. And incidentally, those are the best, or in my opinion, the greatest of all SummerSlams. I mean, there were some good ones here and there after that, but these bring up the most fondest memories for me. Now, I've mentioned on this channel before that every time these new pay-per-views came out, I wasn't really able to see them live. Mostly because my father, God rest his soul, he just wasn't going to pay for a pay-per-view. He wasn't going to pay that much for a pay-per-view. Now, if they had charged the same amount as just like a movie, then he would have been fine. But he didn't see the point in paying that much for a wrestling event. You know, he wasn't going to pay nothing for that fakey wrestling stuff. Anyway, but nevertheless, when the home video came out, it was exciting. It was, for me and my sister, it was like, oh, it's like we're almost seeing it live. Even though we already knew all the results already, but still, we hadn't yet seen it. And it was finally at our video store, so we rent it, we'd bring it home, and we'd watch it, and it was an epic day. So 1989. Now, 1989 was a big year for the WWF. And it was kind of the end of an era, in a sense that, you know, Hulk Hogan was the champion, but it was the last year that Hulk Hogan would be like the tippy top guy, unquestionably in the company. Because shortly after that, you know, coming up from behind was the Warrior. Warrior was sort of gaining in popularity, and we'll see in the next year that the WWF decides to run with the Warrior. But for now, Hulk Hogan is still the guy. WrestleMania, at this point, WrestleMania has already happened. Hulk won the title back from Macho Man. But at the same time, Hulk had a movie that had just been released called No Holds Barred. Now, me and my best friend Joe have talked about No Holds Barred on this channel before. And if you want to go back and check that out, it was just him and I in a car driving to have lunch. And we're just talking about that movie. Anyway, but this is SummerSlam. And so SummerSlam, in an attempt, and successfully, I think, to push the movie, they brought Zeus in from the movie, and he portrayed the character he was in the movie, Zeus. Even though it was really actor Tom Tiny Lister. But to him, Tom Lister, he was just playing another role. He was just doing it in a more live format. But to the WWF fans, oh, he was a wrestler. So they brought Zeus in, and he feuded with Hogan for a while. And SummerSlam rolls around, and Zeus and Macho Man have teamed up. And Macho Man is no longer with Elizabeth. He's a full-fledged bad guy now, and now he's got Sensational Sherry as his manager. And he'll later become the king of the WWF and become, Macho King. But for now, he's just Macho Man. And he's tagged up with Zeus. And so Zeus and Macho Man and Sherry go on Brother Love. And I think they issue a challenge to Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. But because Hogan and Beefcake were sort of, hanging and banging, as Hogan liked to say. And they were kind of buddies, and they were hanging out with each other. And so Hogan and Beefcake, they accept the challenge. And there's all this build up to this tag match. And so at SummerSlam, Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake take on Zeus and Macho Man. Now, this wasn't the first event like this. They had been in a previous match that was, I think it was taped at a house show or something, where it was actually a steel cage match. And that match was included with the pay-per-view movie, where fans, if they ordered the pay-per-view movie, they would get this match along with it. And I don't remember if I ever saw the tag team cage match. I think I probably have at some point, but I also remember this match at SummerSlam. And it was a big match because SummerSlam was the biggest event of the summer. So, Hogan, Macho, we're still kind of feuding, but Zeus and Beefcake were kind of thrown in there still. But there was also another feud at SummerSlam that stemmed from WrestleMania 5, and that was the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude. And so this, again, it was for the Intercontinental title, in which the Ultimate Warrior regained his Ultimate Championship, his Intercontinental Championship. And of course, there was a bunch of other matches on the card, and there was probably a bunch of other feuds that, it was the payoff at SummerSlam. But let's face it, it was all about this main event. And so, spoiler, Hogan and Beefcake were able to win. They had Missy Elizabeth in their corner, and Missy Elizabeth did play a factor in this match. She prevented Sensational Sherry from stealing it for Macho and Zeus. And so, there you have it. The main event took place, and Hogan and Beefcake were victorious. And I think we got to see Zeus, I think, maybe one more time on a pay-per-view. I think he was at Survivor Series that year of '89. And then we never saw him again in the WWF. He would go on to make more movies, and eventually, just a few years ago, he passed away, sadly. But, that was SummerSlam 1989. And, I really enjoyed this DVD box set, this anthology set. WWE doesn't put these out anymore. They stopped with volumes 1 and 2 of the Survivor Series anthology. Because at that point, I guess Vince or somebody decided that they didn't want to do anthology DVD sets anymore. They just wanted to do compilation DVDs and documentary DVDs. Which I think maybe they should have waited until they completed the Survivor Series anthology before they made that decision. But that's just me. What do I know? I'm not in the wrestling business. I don't work for the WWE. I don't work for any wrestling promotion at all. I'm just a fan that does silly videos about wrestling. But in my mind, that would have been cool to have. Volumes 1 through 4 of Survivor Series. But no, we just get Survivor Series, I think 87 through 96. The first 10. And, of course, maybe the WWE did that on purpose because they don't want really people seeing Survivor Series 97, because we all remember what happened there. Anyway, but this is about SummerSlam 1989, and what more can you say? It was like I said, it was a fun year to be a wrestling fan. It was certainly a big year for the WWF, and like I said, it was kind of the end of an era, because it was the final year that Hulk Hogan would be, without a doubt, the number one tippy-top guy in the WWF and the most famous wrestler in the world. Actually, to this day, he's still the most famous wrestler in the world, but, it was really Hulkamania was still definitely running wild in 1989. Now, shortly after that, it was a little bit of a different story. People were kind of getting tired, but we'll get to that in the next year. But this is 1989. 1989 SummerSlam. I loved it because back then I just loved wrestling. I'm not like one of these guys that watches wrestling matches and then kind of overanalyzes. Ooh, he messed up a spot there. Or, what was the purpose of that storyline? Why did they make that guy the champion? Or, I don't sit and think about this stuff. I just watch it and enjoy it for what it is. Now, there are certain wrestling promotions that I don't watch intentionally because I just don't like the product. But I'm not gonna, go on a rant about all the stuff I think they're doing wrong. It's just, personally for me, that's not my cup of tea. I'm not into deathmatch wrestling, but I'm not going to sit here and knock GCW or ECW because Some people like that. Some people think it's awesome, but you know, that's okay. Anyway, what are your memories? Sorry, I kind of went on off the rails there. But what are your memories of SummerSlam 1989? For me, they were fond memories, and I enjoyed the event. And I want to hear from you. Leave them in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And by the way, thank you guys so much for watching my wrestling match videos. You know, obviously those are something you guys like, and I'm going to keep going with them as long as I can. As long as I'm physically able to do it, I'm going to keep rolling with it. But I'm also going to do stuff like this because this is what I like to do, just talking about wrestling. So anyway, leave your comments about, went off the rails again. Okay, leave your comments about SummerSlam 1989 down there somewhere. So if you're new, please feel free to like the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. That helps me out tremendously. And I will see you next time.